Well, we move ahead now to your return to New York and this sense you've just described of wanting to do something, wanting to help. In your case, it took the form of this effort to document what was going on down at the site. Was that your first thought? You are a photographer, it perhaps would have been. And how did you get to the site, and how did you get into it the way that you did?
So it's a great story that I've learned something from, so I'd love to share it. I went downtown to sort of see it 6 or so days after the event. I just wanted to feel what it was like, and I was standing on the corner of Chambers Street and Greenwich Avenue, and ahead of me was the cyclone fence, tarpaulin-covered gateway to get into it from Chambers Street, from Greenwich Street. And I was standing in a crowd of onlookers on a corner, doing nothing. There was really nothing to see because smoke was rising from further away in the pit, basically, or the pile. And I picked up my camera, which I always carry. I just raised it to my eye to look. I mean, it's what I do. I always look through the camera to see if there's an image there. And as soon as I picked it up, someone struck me on my back. And I remember turning around, and it was a policewoman. And she said, "No photographs, buddy. This is a crime scene." I was so shocked, first of all, that she punched me like that, and that she was now threatening me. And I said, "What are you talking about, crime scene? We're standing on Greenwich Street here. You know, the crime scene is in there. I can lift my camera up. You know, I'm on a public thoroughfare." And she said, "You take any pictures, I'm taking that camera away from you." And there we were, nose to nose, and I'm saying, "No, you're not. This, you have no right to. There's no reason to. There's no crime here." Anyway, we both quieted down, and I said to her, "When is the press going to go in?" And she laughed at me, and she went like this. She says, "There's the press." And I looked, and about a half a block away was the press corps. There were about 8 or 10 people with video cameras and boom mics and all of that. And they were tied up with yellow police ribbon. And there was a tree coming out of the middle. I remember that. They were locked into this tree. And I said, "So when are they going in?" And she said, "I told you, never, no photographs allowed." And when she said that, and I saw those press people there, I suddenly had this little light bulb go off, and I thought, that's what I could do. I can go in there and make a historical document that I'll give to the Museum of the City of New York or the Historical Society, and we'll have a record. That's what I could do. And I walked away. I mean, I was on fire. I walked away, and I remember walking past them standing there. I wish I had taken a photograph, because it was the start, you know. I just walked past them, but I was so engaged in thinking about it. I immediately got on my phone. I got the number of the Museum of the City of New York. I didn't know the director or anybody, but I called him, cold call. And I said, "This is Joel Meyerowitz, I'm a photographer." And he said, "I know you. I was an associate curator at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts when you had a big exhibition there." So I thought, thank God, somebody, I connected. So I explained to him what I wanted. Get me in, get me a pass, authorize me from the museum, something, so that I can be legitimate. He said he would do it. I went right up to the museum. He wrote up a letter identifying me. The next day, I packed up my equipment. I went down thinking, I've got my letter, I'm going to walk in. I went to the first guy at the gate, and they basically laughed at me. And then I started calling around New York to see who I might know that knows somebody that could help me. And at a certain point, I remembered Adrian Benepe. His dad founded the Green Markets, and his dad and I were old friends. I had photographed the Green Markets 25 years ago. So Adrian was the commissioner of Manhattan's parks at that time.
Currently, Parks Commissioner of the City of New York.
Currently the Parks Commissioner. And I called Adrian up and I said, "Adrian, it's Joel, you know me, straight arrow," because I knew him since he was a kid. I said, "This is what I want to do." I said, "Who do you know in the government who could help me to get in?" And there was a pause, and he said, "I am the government." I said, "Okay, what can you do?" He said, "Come to my house, I'll give you a pass." That evening I went to his house. He gave me a little pass, a worker's pass, the seal of New York and the date. And the next morning he sent, I went down there and he sent a ranger in a little cart to pick me up and drive me in. This was now September 23rd. And he drove me into right in front of the customs building. He dropped me and he said, "You're on your own." And he scooted out of there so fast. And I remember I was standing there amidst the smoke and the stench and the noise and the activity. And I was bareheaded and had no mask or goggles or anything, just boots and my camera. And I looked on there was a plywood wall there, and on the wall was a hard hat hanging there. So I said, "This is my hard hat." I picked it up and it said NYPD on the front. I put it on and I rummaged around and I saw there was a little stand where they were giving out gloves and goggles and masks and everything. I outfitted myself, and in 15 minutes I was a member of the tribe.